Welcome back to Savvy Psychologist. Today we are doing something a little different and a blast from the past. So I am Dr. Ellen Hendriksen, the first Savvy Psychologist. I hosted the show for many years and I always appreciated my time behind this mic. And double trouble, we are joined by another familiar voice, Dr. Jade Wu, the second Savvy Psychologist. Jade, welcome back.
Hello, it's so good to be back and always great to hang out with you, Ellen. And listeners probably heard at the end of last week's episode that Dr. Monica Johnson is retiring as the host of this show. She will be dearly missed, and we wish her the best in her next chapter. While the QDT team works to fill the big shoes left behind, Dr. Hendriksen and I wanted to come back and deliver some more quick and dirty psychology knowledge. But first, Ellen, what have you been up to since you last hosted the show way back in the day?
It's been a long time. Yeah, no, it's funny that we have not just been packed away in a QDT storage closet. We have both been up to a lot of stuff. So as we'll talk about later, I've written a couple of books and I am currently mostly found on Substack. I have a newsletter called How to Be Good to Yourself When You're Hard on Yourself. So that's where folks can find me. But I'm so excited to talk to you. What have you been up to?
Oh, had a couple of babies, moved up to New York, did a lot of various cool projects, and I am now mostly found on LinkedIn. I've been posting a lot of good tips there mostly on sleep for high performance, so excited to share some of those tips. But yes, I'm glad you mentioned your book, Ellen, because I am currently reading How to Be Enough. That's your second book, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and it's called How to Be Enough, Self-Acceptance for Self-Critics and Perfectionists. That definitely rings a bell for me. Just the title there alone just, makes me feel all the feels. But I'm curious, what is your favorite takeaway while researching that book and writing it?
Yes, I learned so much writing that book, and I think it's a topic that most of us can relate to. Just that subtitle, Self-Critics and Perfectionists, applies to many of us. So for me, the most important takeaway was context overrides rules. And unpacked, that means that the right thing to do is determined not by rules that we might either make for ourselves or have imposed from the outside, but instead by the circumstances that we're experiencing at the time. So there's nothing inherently wrong with rules. They help us reach our goals, reduce anxiety, can give us a sense of purpose. And most of us follow or make up rules about things like healthy eating, saving money, social behavior, what have you. The problem is that when situations change and we don't adjust accordingly, self-critics and perfectionists, we end up blaming ourselves for not meeting our own expectations. So, for example, it is easy to follow healthy eating rules on a slow Saturday with time to cook, but it's unrealistic to hold ourselves to the same standards during a 30-minute airport layover or like on Halloween.
You're reading my mind, Ellen.
Or, at the same time, say, I'm sure you and I were both taught to be nice, but that doesn't mean that we can't assertively negotiate a raise or stand up for ourselves when we're being treated poorly.
Again, at the airport.
Yes, all of this. Yeah, yes, totally. So all this is to say that context overrides rules means that real life requires flexibility and responding to what's actually happening, not forcing ourselves to follow our rules no matter what.
I love it. I love it. So being flexible and fluid, paying attention to what's actually going on instead of being rigid in our rules.
Exactly. And we can do that based on what's happening around us or what's happening inside us. So being flexible is the biggest take home I took from writing the most recent book.
That's a great tip.
Now, you have written a book yourself, Jade, and I'm sure you learned a lot from the process of researching and writing. So tell us about your book and your biggest takeaway from it.
Yes. So for longtime listeners, they may remember that I am a sleep psychologist. So the book that I wrote is Hello Sleep, The Science and Art of Overcoming Insomnia Without Using medications. So, this is a book that is laser focused on insomnia, which is trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep. And it's really for people who have had chronic insomnia. So, they've struggled with sleep for a long time. And there are just so many different tips in the book that I would have a hard time picking just one. But maybe what I'll do is pick out one that doesn't just apply to people who have insomnia, but something that's useful for anyone listening. And this is sunlight. Sunlight, sunlight, sunlight is a powerful and free boost to your mood and sleep quality.
I love that. Tell me more.
This is a counterintuitive one because usually when we think about sleep health, we're thinking about what happens during the nighttime, right? And obviously, one of the maybe the main feature of nighttime is that there's no sunlight. But it turns out that good sleep is not just happening at night, it's a 24-hour affair. So, to have good sleep at night, we also have to have a good contrast of what's happening during the day. Our circadian rhythms, that's our bodily clocks, like to keep track of whether it's day or night. And when it can do that with a lot of predictability, then our clocks are happy. And when our clocks are happy, then we are alert and bright eyed, bushy tailed during the day, and we sleep really well at night. So nowadays, now that we have all these artificial lights that trick our brains into thinking that it's daytime, when it's actually the nighttime, it's especially important for us to get outdoors and get lots of sunlight during the real daytime. So there's a big contrast between how much light we're getting in our eyes between day and night. So, yes, it's okay to use your screens at night, but you just have to really make sure you get lots and lots and lots of bright light exposure during the day. Because if you do so, there's nice contrast between day and night. Your brain knows the difference between day and night. It knows when to make you sleep and when to make you wake. And then everything in your body is happier.
Sounds good. Oh, so okay. So just taking my dog for a walk like I just did sounds like it wasn't just good for her, but might have been good for me too.
Excellent for you. And that's a triple whammy because that's also, exercise because you're moving your body. And that's also good bonding time with your dog, which is, excellent for everybody's mental health.
Yes. I mean, given that I have a lazy overweight beagle, I'm not sure how much exercise that actually was, but it sure was lovely and we definitely bond. So
Wonderful. Yes.
yes.
And this is reminding me too, Ellen, that you not only have this book that we just talked about of perfectionism and how to be enough, you also wrote another book back in 2018, which I can't believe it's that long ago. But I remember reading that book and getting emotional just from reading the introduction of it.
Oh,
Yes, I don't know if I ever told you that, but that really, really struck a chord. So tell us about how to be yourself and what your takeaway was from that one.
yeah. So that was in the before times. And really long time listeners to this podcast may remember me talking about that book. So, yes, How to Be Yourself was written for readers with social anxiety. But again, it can relate to so many of us. 99% of us have had a socially anxious moment. And I certainly learned so much from putting that book into the world as well. So, there, far and away, the most effective tip for social anxiety, but also for other things is go forth and do. And that essentially means get out there and do the stuff you're afraid of. So face your fears, do things while you feel anxious rather than waiting until you don't feel anxious, rather than waiting to feel confident. Go do things that you want to do, go live the life you want to live, and your confidence will catch up. So you don't have to dive headfirst into your anxiety. You don't have to do the hardest thing first, but do get out there and sort of inch your way into the metaphorical pool. And I like go forth and do because it doesn't just apply to social anxiety, it applies to other psychological challenges like depression, where getting active and engaged is a really important antidote to isolation or inertia, or like generalized anxiety, where doing things we care about can interrupt worry spirals and rumination. Just taking action and doing things that we find interesting, meaningful, or fun is really an important key for overcoming what modern life throws at us, whether that's loneliness, stress, anxiety, or more. So go forth and do.
Go forth and do. I love that. I like the idea of leading with behavior instead of waiting until the point where you feel comfortable or feel motivated to do something meaningful. Just go ahead and do it, and the confidence and the comfort will come after.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't really control what we think. We can't really control our thoughts. My classic example for that is, don't think about a cheeseburger floating above my head. And we can't really control how we feel. If we could do that, we would flip a switch and be able to do that, but we can control our behavior. So, yes, I appreciate your pointing out that leading with behavior is really important. So, speaking of behavior, you have been out and about and doing tons of stuff. So, I know you have a TEDx talk coming up and that you've been giving lots of keynotes and workshops. So, what is the biggest problem with sleep that you encounter out there, and how do we counteract that?
Let me back up and just say that I have very much appreciated your social anxiety work that you have done because guess what? I used to be really, really socially anxious. Like, even just talking on the phone to people used to get me like all jittery and like with sweaty palms and everything, butterflies in my stomach. And after working really hard on my social anxiety by leading with behavior, by doing, I am now getting on stage and talking to thousands at a time sometimes.
That is incredible because I write books about my own problems. So I have certainly been there with you, and I'm so delighted that, hey, what do you know? Psychology works. That it has
Yeah.
helped that it has helped both of us. So tell
Yeah.
me tell me more about going forth and doing and giving all these wonderful talks.
Yeah, yeah. So I have been talking to a lot of corporate audiences, and specifically, I wanted to talk to high performing professionals. That's because I think we're really at a societal moment right now where even if you are a generally healthy and well resourced person, that doesn't mean you have good sleep. Usually, when we talk about mental health, obviously there are exceptions to every rule, but usually when we talk about physical and mental health, it's the folks who have more resources that are generally more buffered, right? But when it comes to sleep, I'm actually finding that a lot of high performing individuals are struggling the most with sleep. So I'm taking my message on the road and talking to lots of these folks. One thing that I think has really resonated well with people is the idea of getting out of your head and into your body, especially in the evenings leading up to bedtime. I mean, really, this is true, all day long, all night long, but getting out of your head and into your body leading up to bedtime can be one of the most effective things you can do for improving your sleep. So, backing up a bit, people who have listened to this show for a long time probably are recognizing that what I'm talking about is mindfulness. And mindfulness is often misunderstood as a clearing your mind or shutting off your brain. And often people are saying to me, I'm trying so hard to clear my mind. I'm meditating, I'm counting sheep, I'm doing all this stuff to try and clear my mind so I can go to sleep. But this is actually making their sleep worse because they're putting performance anxiety on themselves.
They're working hard at sleep. They are, yeah.
Yeah, they're working so hard that they're waking themselves up. So instead of trying to clear your mind, what if we shift our mind? What if we shift our mind out of our minds and into our bodies? And why do we do that? Well, your mind can go 100 miles an hour or even faster at the speed of light, right? It can go into the past, into the future, into parallel universes, into the could-haves, would-haves, what-ifs, right? So it can occupy so many points in space-time at a time. But your body can only be in one place and one time at a time,
I like that. Tell me
right?
more.
So your physical body, your five senses can only experience one point in the space-time continuum. So if we just bring our attention down to our five senses, then everything slows down and everything gets simplified and we get more grounded in what's real. That mind that's going a million miles an hour, if we can bring that attention out of that spiral and into our bodies, that speed at which we're thinking and experiencing just has to slow down. And that relaxes our bodies and makes it easier for sleep to come to us. So the way that we get out of our heads and into our bodies is by doing something tactile or physical or utilizing our five senses to get ourselves into the here and now. So that could be as simple as breathing mindfully, doing a gentle stretch, taking a warm bath, looking for new details in the room that you haven't noticed before, or even just, touching your pillows or touching something soft and nice or cuddling with your dog, really just experiencing the world in the moment through your body. And that can sometimes be a really, really powerful way of shifting your attention that does not feel like a struggle.
What a wonderful, accessible tip for all of us. We all have, five senses that we can use to get out of our million mile an hour brains and settle down to go to sleep. That sounds magical. So, what a perfect tip.
Thank you.
That sounds so useful. And as we know, this show aims to be useful and helpful to every listener. Are we going to hear more tips from you, Jade?
Yes, absolutely. So, listeners might already know that you and I are not just coming back for this one fun interview. We are actually each doing a few episodes in the next couple of months. So, I'm going to come back with 3 more episodes, sets of quick and dirty tips on sleep, because I want to give people as many sleep tips as possible during this holiday season. So look out for those. We'll talk about insomnia. We'll talk about chronotypes, how to know how much sleep you need and how to wind down and how to deal with holiday jet lag and things like that. So stay tuned for those. And what about you, Ellen? Are you coming back as well?
I am. I'm going to come back for 4 episodes with information from my wheelhouse. So we'll talk about optimization culture. We're going to talk about how to set boundaries when you have some social anxiety or are a little bit nervous about setting boundaries, and so much more. So I am really looking forward to reconnecting with this audience after so many years. All of our listeners are so psychologically minded, so interested in learning, and dare I say, savvy. So I'm sure you're looking forward to it as well.
I am. Yes, it feels like such a nostalgic return to the show. And it's so much fun talking to you as always, Ellen. I can't wait, especially for the optimization episode. That's going to be really fun and very relevant for me. So, okay, meanwhile, could you remind us real quick, where can people find you?
Yes, well, it is always a treat to listen to you, Jade, so I can't wait to have you help me with my sleep. Yet again, I read your book and loved it. It was so helpful, and I could always use a booster. So, as for where people can find me, come over to Substack. Come read How to Be Good to Yourself When You're Hard on Yourself. And coincidentally, I just launched an audio edition of the newsletter, so if you prefer to listen on the go, you can also do that wherever you get your podcasts. And for you, Jade, where can we find you?
So my website is www.drjadewu.com, and the doctor is shortened to just DR. And similarly, I post a lot of good stuff on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn profile is Dr. Jade Wu. And then meanwhile, stay tuned to Savvy Psych to hear both Ellen and myself over the next few weeks. We can't wait to share our top tips with you.